Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. Maritime Today is a program we set for the conversation. Quickly, let's do a summary of the traffic situation. Most of the areas we're covering still looking pretty good this morning. Those of you navigating from Ojota, heading towards New Garage, Maryland, Fadi, Danita stretch of Ikorodu Road is still looking good. Those of you also trying to connect with the Third Milan Bridge, even though you might have it a little bit slow around Alakbere, but nothing unusual pedestrian crossing responsible for that slowness. Beyond that point, it moves much faster. All right, then. So if your experience is not what we have narrated, you can always connect with us on our social media platforms. Of course, on Facebook or perhaps Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter, and also you can link up with us on WhatsApp. Okay, WhatsApp is 08099120777. Okay, so that will give us some time to have some serious discussion this morning. And that's because we are looking for best ways of building a sustainable framework for the development of the transportation sector in Nigeria. My guest is no stranger to the microphone. Who will be able to talk us through that. Professor AbdulGaniyu Femi Sumaila is our guest. He's a professor of transport and logistics, and currently he's the Director General, Center for Sustainable Mobility. Prof, it's nice to have you. Good morning.
Thank you very much.
All right. So, Prof, I can hear myself, so you need to turn down the volume of that radio where you are.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so that we can have a very, very good conversation.
So let me reduce it.
Yes, please do.
Yes, I have.
Great. So, Prof, it's been quite a while. We had a conversation with you about 3-4 years ago. So, how are things faring with you?
Well, we thank God we are surviving, except that everybody is beaten by the various situations in the country today.
All right. You are the Director General of the Center for Sustainable Mobility. What do you guys do at the center?
Yes, is building a theory, just building ideas, theory of knowledge as to how to resolve the very troublesome Nigerian transport situation.
Okay.
And so what we do at the center is to be able to achieve sustainable mobility. What is mobility? The ease to reach, the ease to move, the ease to leave A and get to point B.
Right.
And so I want to do that on a sustainable basis, not this ad hoc thing that today is fire, yes.
Right. Okay, so there's no way we talk about mobility without connecting it to transportation. So more or less they could act as Siamese twins. Prof, what do you make of the country's transport system as it stands today?
Well, it's chaotic. The Nigerian transport system today is chaotic.
Why do you say that?
Let me start with road transport. Road transport today caters for close to 90% of the mobility needs of Nigerians.
Right.
And what we find is that in terms of the infrastructure and the rolling stock, both of them are chaotic. What do I mean by that? Take the roads.
Right.
The roads today, by our structure in Nigeria, we have 3 classes. Okay. The federal roads, the state roads, and the local government roads. Unfortunately, the first anomaly you will find is that the local government that are at least enabled in terms of resources control the highest percentage of roads in Nigeria. Okay. Followed by the state, then the federal government. And so what you find, if you are traversing any highway in Nigeria, you are crossing, you will get on a federal road. From there, you get to a bad state road, then to, deplorable local government roads. That's what we find.
In terms of data, do we know the number of roads that we have in Nigeria?
Whether we know it?
Yes.
No, we don't. That is part of the challenge we have. Data is a big problem in this country. The best we have done, the best information we have is that we have information about these percentages. 23% handled by federal, 34% handled by state, and the remaining by local government.
Right.
We don't have, in terms of kilometrage of roads, we don't have the figures. The figures are there, but they are not accessible.
Okay, which is quite unfortunate. Yes. So let's get back to your thought flow. You said three things. You've mentioned the road. Yes. Which other house?
Yes. I said so. And that is the road that provides the
bulk,
the accessibility to the bulk of Nigeria.
Right.
Is chaotic. The one that has the best record in terms of safety and mass movement, which is the railway, has been comatose for many years. It is now that it is beginning to come up. And you see, the structural arrangement of the railways in Nigeria is the problem. We have clearly this north-south, and they compete with the roads. And that is why it is possible today to find that the roads are competing, unfortunately, with railways. And that is what killed the railway system.
Back in the
so
days.
Rather than some form of complementarity between roads and rails that happens in other parts of the world, it is competition, you find.
Why
today
is that?
we have constructed highway roads that are running parallel to the rail lines.
Right.
You know, you have the Port Harcourt, Maiduguri, you have the Lagos, Kano. Today we have highway roads that are running also from the same zone, from the same location to the same place.
Prof, are you saying, just a second, are you saying that by design, that is not supposed to be, is that not what is operational in advanced parts of the world?
No, it shouldn't be. In fact, what they have done in some countries, and I will cite the example of Germany, what they did was to limit highway movement, that you cannot go beyond 100, 200 kilometers. Why they have this strong, rail lines? You see, the idea, of course, is this. It reduces the competition, because what should happen is that the road transport is supposed to feed the rail lines, to feed the railways. If you look at what is happening in your Lagos ports,
right?
You understand? The roads in they are supposed to feed the rail. This is the problem. So what we now find is that roads are no longer feeding the railways. It is more of competition. So in many parts of the world, these things have been controlled.
Right.
But it is still possible to structurally realize this thing.
All right. We'll talk about the strategies.
It's a matter of policy.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the strategies that you're bringing up, Prof. But so the third one, which is what? You talk about the rail, you talk about the road?
Yeah, let's take maritime, the maritime transport. Interestingly, too, the maritime transport, unfortunately, appears to be beyond the control and management of Nigerians.
Why do you say that?
The reason, of course, is that these things are controlled by international organizations. And many of our maritime organizations or companies cannot meet the requirements of international organizations. So to that extent, they are not. Then if we look at inland waterways, it's even worse. The inland waterways are not developed. Yes, and today, just a few days ago, NIWA came up with how many pages document, trying to come out with, the conditions for effective river transport in Nigeria. Yes, it is good, even though it's belated, but at least they have started something. The volume, that's my problem, it's about 700 pages. I've not seen the document, but it was displayed on television.
Right. 700 pages document for a blueprint that would chart the way forward for inland transportation.
This is the problem.
Right.
This is the problem.
Okay.
However, it is also possible to now condense it in, provide summaries of it in small pamphlets, even in local languages that the people, because most of the people who manage river transport in Nigeria are mostly illiterate. So such documents don't make too much meaning to them.
Right.
But you can condense them
into something that is much more concise. Prof, I see you're silent about air transport. Are you not going to be giving...
No, I'm not. I was just taking the mode. You see, there are 5 modes of transport.
Okay.
So I've done with 3 now.
Right.
Then you have the air transport. Air transportation, I must say that I must commend government over the years. I think air transportation is okay. But the problem we have is that the management of airlines is the key challenge. Today, we have probably only one or 2 airlines you could say that are reliable. There are airlines, I don't want to mention names, they will book you for 8 o'clock in the morning. If you are lucky, you will fly by 8 p.m. in the evening.
Wow.
They keep postponing it. And so this is the thing. 2, the pot rats that used to operate in the rackets that used to operate in those days are now back. You will be surprised. If I was at the airport, I was trying to buy ticket to come to Abuja, and within a space of 30 minutes, prices had changed about 5 times. Wow. So I started making noise. Fortunately, while I was making noise, somebody from NCAA was around, and they were saying, "No, guys, if you cannot pay, go." So the man from NCAA called the manager of the airline. He said, "Look, you don't know this man, that he is a professor of transport, and he's telling you that tomorrow when they now sanction some of the airlines, you people will be complaining that it is not right." So the rot that used to happen in those days
is now back
to the airport,
which is quite unfortunate. All right,
this is very unfortunate.
So the fifth mode is pipeline.
The fifth mode is pipelines.
Right.
Yes, the pipelines are supposed to do 2 things. They are supposed to move liquids and sometimes semi-liquid. But what do you find? A student of mine did a study of pipeline network in Nigeria. I would discover that in terms of strength, only about 15% of the existing network could be said to be conducive for pipeline transportation. The rest are decayed. Unfortunately, criminals have vandalized most of, because these things, in fact, there are so many things that are wrong with our system.
Right.
So the pipelines, which are also supposed to reduce this crisis that Dangote or whatever, the trailers who are loading the petroleum products, you can see that today you see 300 trailers
on the road,
tankers running Nigerian roads. How will the roads not deteriorate?
Go bad. Right. So that's a major concern, really.
It is a major concern.
All right. There's something I'm going to be bringing back in all of this that you've analyzed, Prof. But let's look at the terms and dissect them properly. A lot of times we use transportation and logistics interchangeably. Can you just break it down for us? Any major differences?
Yes. It is like no major difference, but it's like the chicken and the egg. You see, transportation is movement. That's the simplest definition of it.
Right.
Movement. That is what transportation means. You are moving from A to B, C to D. That's transportation. But logistics takes care of all the activities involved in that movement. The coordination of all the activities. If you are moving from A to B, at that point A, there will probably be maybe a depot, a motor park, a railway station, an airport. And within there are so many things. So when you put these activities together, that is what logistics does.
Right.
It increases the delivery time of transport.
Okay.
It also increases the cost of movement. Why are we talking about petroleum products? Oh, they say it's landing cost, logistics cost, because all these things take place. And sometimes we have what we call multiple handling. You are moving from A to B. When you get, and you are going to D, when you get to point B, those things you did at point A, you will do them again. That's what we mean by multiple handling. You will do the same at point C before you get to D. And all of these have cost. So by the time you put all these together, it's the cost. The transport will have skyrocketed. That is the real challenge we are facing.
Okay, then. So, in all of this, you've described the transport and the logistics sector in Nigeria as very, very chaotic. That's the word that we used to describe it. So, can we say now, Prof, that the huge, backfall in this area is lack of adequate policy framework, or is it a case of good preparation, bad execution, or how would you describe it?
I think it's a mixed bag. I think it is a conglomeration of all of them. Do you know today we don't have a national transport policy? Nigeria does not have
as a country.
Yes. The first national transport policy we had was in 1965, which was handled by the Stratford Research Institute, that popular college in the U.S. They produced the first one. And since then, we'll be struggling. Not that there are no attempts. Today, you will find 20 days. The only one that we have today that exists is the 19 1981, which we now call 1991 or 1981 policy. That's the only policy we have today. And it's already anachronistic. It's old. It should be reviewed.
Right.
But we keep reviewing it. But
okay. But it's not something that can fit into modern times. That's what it means.
Yes.
All right. Because if that is the case, I'm just wondering, when you said the rail lines are constructed to be competing with the highways, maybe if there was a policy framework, if there was a national transport policy, all this would have been identified to say roads
it would have been identified.
Are meant to fit the rail.
Yes, it will have been rectified. Unfortunately, don't forget that the railways were constructed by colonial masters. The oldest started in 1898 in Lagos. You understand?
Right.
The newest addition to Nigerian rail network was the Baroness extension to the rail line of 1964. Since then, we have not had anywhere. The one they've been working on, which is the Ajaokuta, whatever, has not been completed up to now. So, in terms of rail infrastructure development, the latest addition to the network was the 604 Baroness extension. What we got completed in 1964.
Right.
So, what that means is that even since independence, we have not made any let me say nil changes to our rail network infrastructure.
All right. So somebody and some observers have said, well, one of the reasons why road transportation is not as successful as it should be is the real absence of a regulator for road transportation. Do you agree with that, Prof?
I think I want to agree with that. Let me say this. It's something we've been shouting about. We've worked on it severally. You see, but let me tell you, it's just like the oil sector that is today covered in mystery.
Right.
It's like a cult. The same thing with road transport. Because the operators, the unions, are even more powerful than government. So, and that becomes a problem. Until we are able to, until we have a policy framework that will clearly define responsibilities and say, this is what this person is expected to do, this is what this organization should do. So eventually we don't have a regulator.
So let me ask you, who should be the regulator for road transportation?
Yes, I think that is a very tenuous question. You understand?
Right.
You see, whether we like it or not, it is only government that is responsible for regulation. That's the role of government.
Okay.
The major role of government, set rules and regulation and enforce them. So you can't bring any other group into it.
So Ministry of Transportation or Ministry of Works and Infrastructure?
No. You see, this is where we have the problem. You can imagine that the ministry that is responsible for transport is not even catering for the mode that caters for 90% of the mobility needs of Nigeria. Ministry of Transport has a small unit called Road Transport Division. While the construction of roads, everything is in the Ministry of Works. That is another anomaly we have with our system. Those are the things that policies can. So eventually, that is what Ministry of Transport should do. You understand?
Right.
That it should have we put up a regulatory institutional framework for road transport.
All right, then. Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. This morning, we're trying our little way to build a framework for sustainable development of the transport sector in Nigeria. And my guest, Professor AbdulGaniyu Femi Sumaila, is taking us to the classroom this morning. He's a professor of transportation and logistics, and currently he's the Director General, Center for Sustainable Mobility. We're going to take a short break right now. When we return, Prof will respond. Some years back, we had the National Transport Commission Bill, which was actually passed by the National Assembly. Till date, we've heard little or nothing about that bill. Today, we have the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. How effective? What are the potentials of we tapping into that ministry to make marine transportation better than it is? These are many more we'll be reflecting on, and also we'll be hearing from you. That will be on 080-99-120-777 and 09153877127. A brief break, we will be back.
Nigerian shippers cancel day to serve you well. No matter the problem, we go solve them for you. you.
Yes, so the Nigerian Shippers Council they feel a parole now for every level, and as una goods they move from port A go enter port B with a measure within una need. For the Nigerian Shippers Council, we don't sharp proper to fit hear you wella, work with you wella, and help you fit serve your customers them better, no matter where them day. As we country port economic regulator, the Nigerian Shippers Council get every now to fit make government consider the problem when shippers them they face. Visit we office for number 4 or to buy your daily show your daily lane. Papa, email us for nsc@shipperscouncil.gov.ng. We website now www.shipperscouncil.gov.ng. Allow us on top 0818-888-8895 or 0703-584-6468.
For you, we dey gidigba, gidigba, eh.
Nigerian Shippers Council with the meeting now for the port of una need.
Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. Maritime Today is the program, and I'm still speaking with Professor Sumaila. He's a renowned professor of transportation and logistics, and we're looking at best ways of developing a proper framework for the development of the transportation sector. Back to the traffic situation, we can tell you most of the areas we're covering still looking good, but of course, if you're transversing from the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway corridor heading inwards to Oshodi, I can tell you Brown Junction connecting Olukpese underneath the bridge is a slow movement at this time. Nothing unusual. We have lots of commercial activity within that particular corridor. That is what is responsible. All right, then. We can also hear from you, 080-99-120-777. If you have any questions for Professor Sumaila, feel free to bring that on board, and I'm sure he'll be here to respond to you. Prof, let's continue on this trajectory that we've been exploring. Some 2017 or 2018, the National Transport Commission Bill was actually signed by the National Assembly. Up to date, we never heard anything about it. What's going on?
You see, I don't know, if you are a student of history, you must have learned about the scramble for the partition of Africa. That is what has happened to that bill. The major challenge has been the agency that will take responsibility for it. Initially, they were to create a transport regulatory commission.
Right.
You understand? Later, one of our parastatals in the ministry, Shippers Council,
right,
said it is their responsibility to handle it.
Okay.
At a point, my former office, NITT, they said, okay, since it's a training institution, they should give it that. So that has been the challenge. I think the major problem has been the institutional framework to be responsible for that. So that's why a lot of people are saying that, because again, everybody is complaining. There are too many commissions, too many agencies. You know, why can't we can give it, but the way it is, that commission is supposed to regulate all modes of transport. If it is to regulate all modes of transport, then it has to be a standalone agency. Okay. This is my position.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, so that we now have departments to take care of each mode: road department, rail,
water transportation, and all of that.
So that they can now, this is the way. This is my own thinking.
All right.
And we prepared this same document. What I'm talking about, we put it together in a document, but it's
nothing at least in the light of day. All right,
yes.
Let's quickly move on.
This is why I think the national transport policy should really address it. And of course, make a decision on it.
Right. Okay, then. So last year, August to be precise, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu actually set up a new ministry called the Ministry for Marine and Blue Economy. Prof, that was, tagged to be the big thing for his administration. So far, so good. What do you make of that particular ministry?
No. I think it's one of the wonderful developments in the transport sector. Let me say this. Today, the crisis we are facing with oil, I think Nigeria can make almost equal amount of money from the marine and blue economy. the opportunities are many.
They are enormous.
It is just enormous.
Okay.
We can make so much money. There are maritime countries today.
Okay, so Prof, your line is fading. I don't know if you can just speak up a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I said there are maritime countries today that all they have is the maritime industry.
Right.
And countries, and they are surviving through it. Nigeria has the potential to do that, to achieve that. So I think it's a first step, and I think a very wonderful step by government.
All right. I'm having some.
They need to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a wonderful step by government.
Okay. All right. I'm having some reactions that are coming in for you. This one says, "Good morning, Victor. My name is Shegun. I have 2 questions for Professor. It says, how would you define a sustainable framework for transportation development in Nigeria? I say, secondly, what key elements do you believe are necessary to create such a framework? Thank you, sir."
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I think that's a very beautiful question, academic. Sustainability. What does sustainability mean? Sustainability means something that is continuous. You get, once you attain a level, you maintain it. It is that sustainability, is that maintenance to ensure that once you push transport to a particular level of efficiency, you maintain that efficiency.
All right. So what are the key elements?
And let me tell you, the key elements there are just 2. Then there is a third one, which is regulatory.
Okay.
The key elements are the infrastructure. You must have the adequate infrastructure that can, because without the infrastructure, you cannot move from A to B.
That's right.
Effectively. The second one is the rolling stock. That's the means of transport.
Okay.
You understand? That
Right.
they must be available in very good condition.
Okay.
And the last one is what you just talked about. That is the regulatory framework.
Right.
Once you have these 3, you can achieve a sustainable transport system.
All right. Quickly, some other questions are popping in for you. This one says, "Good morning, Traffic Radio. How can Nigeria encourage citizens to shift from private vehicles to public transportation?" Okay, you didn't put your name by the way. Okay, Jubril. It says Jubril. This one says, "How can citizens like Lagos and Abuja build more efficient and sustainable public transport systems?" Another one here says, "Good morning, Victor and Professor Sumaila. My question is, how can Nigeria attract more foreign investment into its transport sector?" Dr. Bilu is sending that one in. There are lots of questions that are popping in for you, Prof, but time would not really allow.
Yes.
But your vision in the next 10 years, what do you think for transportation?
Yes. Okay, the vision. Sincerely, the vision is this. You see, it is just for a country to have, because when you talk about vision, strategic vision, it's not just vision, it must be strategic. And strategic vision means you are looking at the future with definite, actions. So strategically, my strategic vision for 10 years is to do those 3 things I talked about.
Okay.
1, how can we improve transport infrastructure in Nigeria? I must say that for air transport,
Right.
I think the infrastructure is fairly good. For now, you go to the airport, you are happy that at least it's as if you are in other parts of the world. That to me is wonderful. Yes, it is just the regulatory framework that will enable airlines operate. Then let me link this to the last question somebody asked.
Yes.
Talk about foreign investment.
Right.
Foreign investment can only come if they see a robust local or national system. You can't come and invest in a dead system.
Okay.
This is the challenge. Yes. So we expect that if we start off by improving our infrastructure, don't forget the ease of doing business in Nigeria, which started many years back. It is not succeeding because of logistics, transport and logistics.
All right, Prof.
That's a major issue.
All right, to leave it at that for now. You've spoken a lot, and I'm hoping that I can get you back into the studio Sunday, and then we can address most of these issues that relate to transportation and logistics effectively. It's nice having you on the program. Thank you so much for connecting with us.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
God bless.
God bless you too. So he's a professor of transportation and logistics. I'm talking about Professor AbdulGaniyu Femi Sumaila, who is the Director General Center for Sustainable Mobility. We have to go. The program this morning has been produced by Taiwo Barua. I say a big thank you to Okpayemi Shonunke of our social media unit, and of course Rebecca Adamu, who's Assistant Director of Public Relations for the Nigerian Shippers Council. You can connect with the council on all their platforms at NG Shippers. My name is Victor Oteri. Have a splendid morning. Bye.